So hello, my name is Tran, and tonight I'm going to discuss my master's project, which was an analysis. Oh no, it is doing things. Which is an analysis of habitat suitability for white nose syndrome of bats in the United States. So first off, just a little introduction to white nose syndrome. It was first discovered in 2005 by cave explorers in Albany, New York. A year later, this fungus was researchers started to notice that there was sick and dying bats, and they attributed this to a fungus, which they named Pseudogymnoascus destructans. And if you see this picture here on the screen, the little white fuzzy, this little white fuzzy stuff around the bat's nose, that is the fungus. And due to the fuzzy white appearance, they kind of nicknamed it white nose syndrome. The fungus itself can also appear on the ears and on the wings. So after this fungus was initially found, researchers started to look more into it and found out that it was also in Europe and Asia, but for some reason it didn't affect those bats as severely. And still, a lot of scientists are kind of unsure how the fungus arrived in North America in the first place. They kind of assume that somebody brought it over from Europe or Asia, and it just traveled on some type of caving equipment and then ended up here in North America. So a little bit of the background of the WNS fungus. The fungus that causes it is cold loving, and temperature and humidity may play a role in the spread of it. The optimal growth range is between 40 to 60 degrees Fahrenheit, and high humidity might also play a role in the growth range. And an important thing to realize about the fungus is that it can live without a host and can remain contagious for up to 4 months. And there's also been research that's shown that it can also live at higher than optimal temperature. So what exactly happens to bats with WNS? So the fungus attacks bats during hibernation, and it causes bats to wake up frequently, leading to losses of fat reserves. And bats, they aren't very big creatures to begin with, so they don't have a lot of fat to lose. So less fat means that it will be difficult for them to survive the winter. And then also, bats roost very closely together, which can also cause the disease to spread quickly. And prevention is kind of key in conserving these bats to protect them from this disease. But why should we care about this disease and why we should work on preserving these bats? So 3 common bat species have had their populations decline by more than 90% since WNS was discovered. Bats can provide important beneficial services to the environment, which includes seed dispersal, pollination, pest control, nutrient recycling, and aesthetic value. All these above reasons do cause researchers to worry about this emerging disease. And here I have a map from the current distribution. This map is from 2019, so we are missing some updated stuff. But as far as this map shows is that there's a lot of confirmed cases in the Appalachian region, the Northeast, the North, and also it has spread to some places in Washington and possible suspected cases in California as well. So obviously, since it kind of reached all the way over to the western side of the state, there may be more sites that could be suitable for WNS. The purpose of this project is to perform a habitat suitability analysis for WNS to predict where the disease may spread in the lower contiguous United States. A habitat suitability model could play an important role in the prevention of WNS. So here's a little outline of the presentation, the rest of it. I'll talk about the data that was used in the project, which includes the average temperature, maximum temperature, minimum temperature, and total precipitation. I'll discuss the methods, which is the habitat suitability model, and the results, which is the habitat suitability map, and discuss those results, and then we'll end with a conclusion. So first off, here is a map of the average temperature. The darker colors means colder, The lighter color means warmer. Here's the maximum temperature, minimum temperature, and precipitation. Oh my goodness. Okay, so the methods. So first off, the climate. Oh, I think I skipped this. Did I skip a slide? Oh, here, I skipped a slide, my bad. So the data that was used in this project is from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's climate monitoring data. So what they do is that they separate areas in the state into climate divisions. And the data that was used was climate data from November 2021 to April 2022. This time span between November and April models the hibernation period. And yet again, I use average temperature, maximum and minimum, and also the total precipitation. So first off, for the methods, the climate division shapefile and weather data were joined together. Each climate data set was converted to a raster layer. The data was projected into NAD 1983. The raster data sets were added to a suitability model by using the Suitability Modeler tool in ArcGIS Pro, and each criteria's values were classified on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being the least suitable, 10 the most, and the criteria was decided by current literature. I kept the 40 degrees to 60 degrees being the most suitable, and when it came to weighing out the 4 different factors, I put average temperature as the highest weight, followed by maximum, minimum, and then precipitation having the lowest weight. And then here's just a flow chart of the steps that I took. Again, climate divisions and the weather data were joined together, which created the data sets. Each data set was a polygon to raster conversion, which was then put into a suitability modeler and then into the habitat suitability map. So according to the analysis, many areas in the Appalachian region, southeastern, southwestern, and western regions have suitable environments for WNS. The coastal areas of Washington, Oregon, and California have higher suitability. Southern areas of Nevada, most of Arizona, New Mexico, and most of Texas have mid to high suitability. When we start moving a little bit more north, Utah and Colorado are mixed suitability. Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, Eastern Washington, and Eastern Oregon are low to mid. And then some of the lowest suitability areas are the Dakotas, Minnesota, Michigan, and also the northeastern states also show low suitability. So here's just the habitat suitability map that was created. Our darker purple color is the maximum suitability, and our orange is the least suitability. And again, we have a lot of suitability here in the southeastern areas and on the western coast. But once we start moving more north, the suitability definitely declines, even when we look at these northeastern states and around the area where WNS was first found. And here's just a comparison of the occurrence map and the habitat suitability map to kind of gain just a better understanding of where this map is stating is suitable, just kind of compared to the actual distribution. So from the occurrence map, we do know that many areas in the southeastern US do have cases of WNS, as long as we don't go too far into Florida, that is. But we also know that the states in the northeastern US also have cases, but the model kind of showed that these were less suitable. But if we kind of look on the other side of the country at Washington and California, kind of where those outlier cases were, there are suitable areas for it. And again, this project specifically used temperature and precipitation, which may not have accurately predicted states that have already had confirmed WNS cases, like North Dakota, Minnesota, and New York, and all this other northeastern region. And there's still many factors at play. There's not a lot of research, at least what I could find, on what temperature is truly too cold for this cold-loving fungus. And then we also have to deal with the fact that Since it can spread by human contact, it's just adding a whole nother factor into it. We don't always know where people are going to go. You know, we could block off caves, but that doesn't mean that people will stop going into them. And then just kind of overall, it's still an emerging disease. So there's still a lot of research that kind of still needs to be done on it. And overall, WNS was first found in Albany, New York in 2005. Since then, it has spread all across the country. This project aimed to use a habitat suitability model to predict areas that could have WNS in the future by using environmental factors such as temperature and precipitation. And then we saw that the model showed some overlaps with confirmed cases, but also some consistencies. But overall, there's still a lot more information to discover. And the point of this project was to just kind of have a roadmap of where this disease could be, so we can really work on trying to prevent it to spread in the future. And also, more variables could be added to this project as well to even make it more accurate potentially. But overall, that is my project, and thank you all for coming.